The million dollar question: how do entrepreneurs transition from self-employed to owning a business that turns a profit? My name is Chris Waters, and this podcast has the million dollar answer. Welcome to CEO Secrets. Hey guys, it's Chris Waters. Welcome to CEO Secrets. I'm super excited to have a special guest on from Chicago. Tommy Choi, welcome to the podcast.
Chris, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Man, I'm super excited to have you on because, you're a young person in the industry. You pivoted to the team model, and in 4 years, you were able to get to 70 million in annual sales. And you did that in probably one of the most competitive markets in the entire United States, which is a huge accomplishment in itself. But the thing, I think is also super cool is that you're a civic leader in your community. You served on the
Association of Realtors.
Yep, Chicago president of the Chicago Association of Realtors. You're also on the advisory board.
Professional network for NAR.
Yeah, so that, man, you're not only are you building this huge business, you're also a civic leader giving back to the community, which is awesome. And then you also are an owner in a Keller Williams franchise market center, right?
Yep, exactly.
Cool, man. Well, let's get into it. When did you get started in real estate? When did you get going?
Yeah, well, I got licensed in 2006, and so I was burned out of my corporate job, first job out of college. Worked at a company called CDW, Fortune 500 tech company, where I made 150 cold calls to state and local government IT directors, which you can imagine how receiving they were to my calls. That was me being sarcastic. So, I did really well. It's funny. They have a formula. They said if you did X, Y, and Z in 3 years, you'd be on the path to making six figures. And I followed that path, and I was making 125K as like a 25-year-old kid. Bought a condo on the north side of the city. Of course, I saved $0 because I was, paying for everyone's bar tabs on the weekends and going to Vegas like 3 times a year for some reason. But had fun. But you know what? I was completely the first thought I had every morning I woke up was, how far away is Friday? And it was just mentally exhausting. It wasn't a path I wanted to live. And I'm glad at a young age I was able to get that, and real estate was where I pivoted towards. My roommate at the time, who's my business partner, Josh Weinberg, he was working for a developer, and so that's what kind of got me really interested. And then obviously purchasing my first home really kind of gave me a look under the hood of what that process looked like. And I thought, I think I could do this and make some good money on it. So
you came into real estate, and you crushed it as a solo agent when you got into the business, right? Like what did your trajectory look like from a home sales perspective, kind of year 1, year 2?
Yeah, that first year. So when we went full time, we both, my business partner and I, we both juggled real estate and our 9-to-5 still, to be smart about it. And when we went full time, it was June 1st, 2007. And
you started a boutique brokerage.
Exactly. Weinberg Choi Realty.
So you went from part-time realtor to broker owner.
To broker owner. And what? It's, I want to say 7 months later, the state of Illinois caught on and how dangerous that was. And they changed the license law. Because I think for another 15 hours of class and 20 extra questions on the test, I was able to get, my broker's license, which now is considered your managing broker's license. So we self-sponsored ourselves. But it was right timing, right place, because you don't know what you don't know, and we didn't know much, and we kind of put our heads down and did it. I think that first year we closed 20 units and about like 6-7 million, which was really good. And then 2008 happened, the entire nation's housing market crashed, and that was the biggest blessing ever, because it really taught us. We're very experience-based learners, and we got to sink our teeth into some really, really deep stuff, I always tell people, it's one thing about reading in a book about what it was like selling real estate at that time, but it's another thing to be able to say, hey, I was face to face with sellers, homeowners at their kitchen table, telling them, I could sell you their home, but it's going to cost them $20,000 to $30,000 because they're underwater.
Yeah.
It's not a fun conversation, but it was one that really helped me accelerate an experience, especially the emotional intelligence side of what we do.
So you shifted from your boutique brokerage to the team model.
Yes.
I want to understand, like, what were some of the things that happened, and what ultimately was the light bulb or inflection point
Yeah.
that caused you to going down the traditional brokerage path and then pivoting to the team organizational model?
It's very simple. I almost died, literally. I was maybe getting 4 hours of sleep, just burning both ends of the stick here. And I had just become a father. And I was just grinding, and this happens to a lot of realtors when you start to see high levels of success and the money starts to roll in, right? And you make your first admin hire and your profitability is through the roof, and you kind of don't want to give that up because you've grinded so much and you sacrificed so much to get to that path. And we were at that point, working with buyers and sellers, then, taking care of admin stuff at night. And literally one day I remember I woke up and half of my car, I was on the highway and half of my car was underneath a semi-truck bed.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I had woken up because everyone around me was honking their horn. I had legitimately fallen asleep behind the wheel and I started to veer. And thank God, I was driving a really small BMW 3 Series. This semi-truck driver knew what was going on and kept pace with me. So I never went under, he never crushed me. And as soon as I woke up, obviously I veered back out, pulled over to the shoulder of the highway. And I was in tears. I was just like, what the hell am I doing here?
Yeah.
And it was literally just exhaustion. I'm like, there's gotta be a better way. And that's literally when, success leaves clues. And I met some other KW agents and, this whole, the opportunity of owning a franchise and launching a market center came. And that's where I really got to look under the hood of this path of focused mastery and building that team model. It was actually Lance Loken who connected with me and spent almost 2 hours with us on the phone and just really broke down our team and our org chart. And so that was literally the catalyst that pushed us into this other direction.
So in your boutique brokerage, I mean, you were basically kind of it's not like you went out and recruited 100 agents. You were producing and very busy. And so essentially you were like most agents, but you owned the brokerage and you ran yourself into a wall and figured you needed you need to find a way to create leverage for yourself.
Well, you know what it was? It was that, Chris, and also we were running off, just raw talent, right? We were just doing what was in our blood, right? We were just going at it. So we had zero systems in place. It was just get new business, get in front of new business, convert it, close it, keep going, right? And so being able to not just only have that leverage, but also create that system and model in place of what we were doing so that we had it in order to scale and be able to leverage was the biggest key in our growth. And that first year when we did that, I mean, we almost doubled, our production. That's when we jumped from 30 million to 55 million.
For people watching this right now, I know for a fact there are entrepreneurs and people in real estate and plethora of different industries that are just working their face off, going 7 days a week. And there is a better way. And it starts with leverage and realizing that you can actually find people that will do a good job and help you grow the business. And it doesn't all have to be on your shoulders.
It's this idea of, the term work-life balance. And that it always bothers me when I hear that, because uh, I think there's no work-life balance. It's just called life because you have to work in order to live. And so, you know, this concept of time management really is something that I think it's a fake term, or at least it should be redefined, right? Because we can't manage time. I can't say, hey, time, stop. I'm gonna go watch Avengers Endgame for 3 hours, and when I'm done, let's restart and continue on with the day.
Yeah.
Time is moving regardless, right?
Yeah.
But the idea of activity management, right? And to your point, we all have 24 hours, so it's what can you focus on within those hours you have, and in order to scale, you need more people, human capital to help you double up on, triple up on what you're doing within those hours.
Yeah.
And that's what it took us time to really learn that.
Just out of curiosity, what's been, I'm just going through some of the basic stuff. What were some of your lead gen pillars for your business? How are you getting business for yourself, for your team? And then I've got a lot of other questions around like the other pillars.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So for us, for the last 13 years, we fluctuate between 89 to 91% referral-based business. So for us, it's about our database. And so it's about the people we know. And so for us, when we're goal setting, right, we know this year, our goal is 200 units, 100 million. It's not so much we're looking for more homes and properties to sell. It's we understand how many people we need to meet to put into our database and convert into those results. And so for us, our metrics, I'm more than happy to share it. If you want to share with the audience of yours, I'm cool with it. Our standards are really based around face-to-faces and the human interaction. So for us, we are a lead gen model that's on the phone a lot, but for us, we're really committed to getting face-to-face on a daily basis, breaking bread, having coffees or whatnot, because that relationship side is what has really grown our business.
What do you feel like is the value proposition for the agents that join your team? Because I'd have to imagine it. So one thing I struggle with is I believe that building a business that's highly referral based is hard to scale, because if you have a bunch of agents on your team and they've developed these relationships and you train them up and you coach them and you give them tech and all these things, there's like 100 other brokers that'll give them a more favorable commission split. And as time progresses in an agent's career trajectory path, your value proposition just diminishes, because like at a certain point, they're not going to need leads from you. They don't need training. They don't need coaching. Like the business comes in because they've done a good job, and you've done a good job as a coach and a leader to help them be successful. And so, have you thought about on the referral side, if you want to truly exit the business at some point on the team side, could you do that with the referral systems you have in place?
That's a great question. We can, however, in order to scale big, we know that we need more at-bats, and that's going to come from, online leads or some sort of other system of lead generation. Mm-hmm. I will say why I say we can exit out and still be heavy on the referral basis, because we are not, at least as Rainmakers, my business partner and I, we are not getting in our own way and making sure that we're, touching each of one of these relationships.
Yep.
The system, the team really, and our admin team has put into place through what we do, right? Following our 36 touch, and we're very events based as well. So providing value to our past clients through those connections, it's almost working itself, right? So it's not like that I'm the one that's constantly calling everyone and asking for referrals. That being said, though, the value prop for us really it's two things. It is the leads portion, and what I've learned the last 13 years is anyone that's looking to join a team, it's really for two things, right? It's they want leads, they want someone to put them in the batter's box, and then the second thing a lot of the times what I hear is like mentoring and coaching, but I think what that really means is they just want a proven system that they can just plug into, right? So that they can just focus on converting those leads. So for us, our salespeople that come into the organization, they have a database. And a lot of times these are people that are like 2 to 3 years into the business, and they haven't seen the levels of success they wanted. And what we've found is that they've really not properly worked their database. And so it's teaching them the tools how to make sure to stay in front to get as much referrals as they can from that. We're still always outpacing them as far as the leads that we're giving them, because our database between Josh and myself obviously is huge, and it's a machine that's running its course with referrals.
What's prevented you from stepping out of production? Like why are you still selling?
So that's a great question. For me, part of it now, every year I am, slowly stepping away in the sense of scaling back the amount of volume that I'm doing. Part of it is, believe it or not, I still love the feeling of getting face to face with you at your dining room table and completely dominating you in a conversation and winning your business, right? I do a lot of national speaking, and part of that, for me, the confidence I have on stage is relevancy, knowing that I'm still in the trenches with the people in the audience here that are here to learn. So my evidence of success that I'm sharing is stuff that's not theoretical or stuff I did 20, 30 years ago. It's stuff that I'm constantly doing. That being said, will I be, taking 50, 60, closing 50, 60 listings a year, 2, 3 years from now? Definitely not. My goal is to scale back from that. However, I still want to be in touch, but that's part of why I'm still here.
Have you had any challenges as you've tried to get out of the production role? Like anything that's prevented you from getting out of the production role? Or is it just simply you enjoy doing it?
It's simply, I enjoy doing it. I mean, I'll say in general, even when, my business partner got out of production, as we continue to grow, the challenge is always as a business owner in the real estate industry is obviously your profitability naturally is going to go down. I do think when you're first transitioning out, because it's natural, for someone to be replaced, no one's going to be as good as you. So it's a matter of looking at it as a numbers game, knowing that, well, maybe I need to have 3 people replace me to hopefully get to net zero on that. But it's a long game, obviously, right? It's time or money. And it's saying, being out of production, giving this time back. For us, my motivation in that is not so I can, kick it on the beach. It's to, focus on other aspects of our business so we can continually grow that.
So essentially one of the biggest struggles is like the income balance of trying to scale out while also maintaining an income. So
exactly.
Yeah. And that's definitely a challenge because, I think you've got to kind of decide when you start a venture, are you a growth company or are you a profit company? And if you want that insane, 1,000, 2,000% growth you hear about, it's all going all in, you don't take anything, So yeah, there's definitely a balance as you're building that bridge. What, when you think about, so what's cool is you had this corporate background where you mastered inside sales, client follow-up, best practices for follow-up to convert leads. And so you came into the industry with a really cool skill set and then obviously crushed it at the outside sales part of getting face-to-face with people.
Right.
As you try to endow that knowledge on salespeople you bring onto your team, what have been your big ahas or struggles around training other people to, implement the same things you have learned through experience? What's been your biggest struggle around teaching salespeople how to be great?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, and that was very generous and kind of you of how you described it. I wouldn't say I mastered inside sales. What I mastered during my time in that corporate world when I was making that 150, cold calls a day to state and local government IT directors, was that I mastered failure, really, and more so I overcame the fear of failing. And so I was numb to that. So I knew, right, I adopted this, I call it the Kanye West mentality where, as soon as I hang up this phone, I have an awesome life and I get to go back to it. So no matter what you say to me or if you hang up on me, it's okay because I have that, right? And so that's, I think, the biggest challenge that we face is as we continue to grow and love on our salespeople is that that fear of getting out of their own way. And part of it is this, there's always this apprehension in salespeople in general to pick up the phone, and establish or reestablish that relationship with that person that you're calling and try and gain business from. And there's always a hesitation to make that ask, whether it is for their business, for a referral, for an introduction. And ultimately what I've learned is really that fear comes from a place where in your head, you're thinking, well, I've really done nothing for this person, so I feel uncomfortable asking them for something. And I think that's a real raw emotion that you have to accept and not ignore. And for us, how we've learned is that we treat relationship, because we're so referral based. We look at every person we meet with kind of like an ATM machine, right? Meaning, if you work the relationship right, you have a reason to go to the ATM. But really, it's when you walk up to the ATM machine, right? You have two action items. You can either make a withdrawal or a deposit. And so that's the biggest thing that we teach, is that really figure out ways to make deposits into people's lives, so that when you do make that withdrawal, one, you have the confidence because you know, like, hey, I provided value to this person, so it's okay for me to ask something. Mm-hmm. And two, it's accepting of that person, saying, hey, you brought value. What do you need? I want to help you. I need to return this favor. It's human nature, right?
Law of reciprocity. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's getting them over that hump, but really breaking it down to what I just explained is really where we've seen the success.
Do you have people that don't get over that hump and the fear of getting shot down? Do you have people not get over that?
Yeah, you know what? And we see it a lot with younger, like millennial agents. And I think part of that, what we found is that they grew up differently than how I grew up, right? They're more in a digital world where texting was the first sense of communication versus calling. So a lot of the apprehension we get within that group is that they get that, pick up the phone finally, make that dial, and it's, people are wondering why are they calling me? Why are you so weird? You're calling me. Why don't you just text me or, DM me or whatnot? And so that's been the challenge with at least for us with working with millennials is getting over that fear of like, what they're going to think, why they're calling them,
You got to be right on the edge of a millennial. Like millennial is what, 1980? And
yes, I'm 81. I'm on that tail end.
Yeah.
38 years old. So
yeah. You mentioned you have some. How many kids do you have?
I have 3 girls, 3 daughters.
Oh my God! Yeah. Don't tell me that. I have 2. I have 2. I have 2 girls, and I'm like, maybe the third will be a boy.
Go for it. Go for it, and then you'll go for it like I did, and you'll have 3 daughters.
So is number 4 going to happen, or are you guys done?
We're done. There's no. I'm too afraid of having 4 daughters that I don't even need to. I don't even want to try. It's such a blessing. Being a girl dad is one of the best things. I'm sure. How old are your kids?
Mine are 3 and 9 months.
Awesome. So 3 is such a great age because they're getting right into that where they're like a little cute little person.
Yeah.
But it's great. I'll tell you, when your 9-month-old gets to be like 2 or 3 and you get to really start to see that sisterly bond.
Yeah.
I remember when we had our second daughter, Momo, I was really like amped on having a boy, and not to say I was disappointed, but I was a little like, oh, all right, another
girl. It's a guy
girl
thing, right? It's a guy thing.
Exactly.
You want another boy.
But when she got to like 2 and her and Henley, her older sister, were playing with each other, and the first time I saw that, and they were like really being sisters, I was like the dad in the corner, like ugly face crying, like shaming myself for ever wanting a boy and be like, how could I have deprived my kids of being sisters? And it truly it's a beautiful thing. So
I feel you, man. I think if I had a son, he'd be a terror. And my little girls like run up and give me hugs and cuddle with me in bed. And if I had a son, he wouldn't be doing that.
My business partner, Josh, he has a 6-year-old boy, Dylan, and when they come over to my house, I'm like watching this kid. It's like a monsoon coming through. I mean, everything is being touched. Everything is like And our girls are in the corner, like coloring, and they're like looking over in fear, like, what's wrong with Dylan? Why is he so crazy?
Yeah.
It's funny how boys and girls are wired differently.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. So something I say quite frequently is like, as a business leader, I think 80% of our success is predicated on our ability to recruit and select the right talent. And
Absolutely.
that selection process goes deeper than just the interview process. It goes into, when you've got them on the team the first couple of months, like making sure you've got the right person on the team. So what are you doing in the recruiting and selection process to help increase your odds to improve you have the right people that are going to be able to commit to calling their database and not being afraid to go for no? Like, what are some of the tactics
Yeah.
and nuances you're implementing?
Well, here's the thing for us, where we saw a huge success and change in talent is, when we really set and defined our team's culture. Okay. And when that vision was clear, where we started to see and get in front of more talented people was within our database. So the people that already knew us and they already understood and experienced, whether it was a past client or a referral partner, when they heard Weinberg Choi Residential, they knew what our culture was. So when we'd call on our database and ask them for introductions saying, this is what we're looking for, whether it's on the admin side or the sales side, the people they were teeing us up with were people that they cared about in their lives. And because they knew, like, hey, to that person, like, Chris, I'm going to connect you with Tommy. And this is an unbelievable opportunity because what these guys are doing is amazing. And I care about you. I want you to be a part of this. Versus the paying to put on LinkedIn and Indeed and Facebook job market, where we were kind of getting a lot of high volume resumes getting put in front of us, but the quality was poor. So we just started fishing in a different part of the lake, and we started to catch bigger fish and more quality from that. But it was all because of we had set and defined what our culture and our vision was. And so our database, our fan club, they knew it, and because they've experienced and felt it. So they were putting the people they cared the most about, and it just so ended up being that was the most talented people that we were getting in front of. And that's the thing for us, to your point, really we're at the point too now when people ask, like, what's your goal this year as a team? For Josh and myself, we're not leading with like 100 million, 200 units. That's just the result, right? And that's just a number that a lot of us as realtors, that's what we're used to. For us, our goal is, to net 4 new people on our team, right? 3 people on our sales side and 1 on our admin. We know we're 4 people away from getting to those results. So we're fully, when we talk about being a people business, to your point, we're focused on attracting that right talent because we know that talent will get us to where we need to.
To net 4 people, how many do you need to hire? And how many interviews do you need to do?
That's a great, so my partner Josh is the one that is in charge of our growth of our team, but I would say that we have to grow 7 people to net 4, at least on the sales side. The admin talent is, I'd say that we see a lot, a lot, I don't know if better talent's a word, but less turnover from that side.
A little more consistency.
The consistency, there you go. That's what I was looking for.
Yep. Yeah, we've experienced very similar thing, like finding more, finding successful operational staff is much easier than finding salespeople.
But at the same time, I do think, I know for a fact, the majority of our referrals are coming because of our operational people, because they're the ones that are touching our clients the most, whether it's just regular follow-up or even throughout the transaction period. All of our reviews, if you look at them, I mean, rarely is the sales agent mentioned. It's really the admin team and the operations side that are being mentioned. And we like that because they're the ones that are touching our clients at a high level. And that's the white glove customer service that people are feeling.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you, anything in the industry you're scared of, like maybe from an economic perspective, maybe from a technology disruptor perspective? Like, what are some of the things that make you a little nervous? Because, You and I are similar in age, so we've got, a
Yeah.
long career ahead of us.
Yep.
And I'm just kind of curious, what are the things like in the back of your mind you think about that, maybe you're a little concerned about, just like with the industry as a whole? If that maybe there's
Yeah.
nothing. I'm just curious.
No, great question. I'd say that, there is stuff but the stuff that's, the clickbait on Inman and stuff like that, that's the stuff that I'm not really concerned about. Like, I don't think technology is ever going to replace the human aspect of what we do, right?
Mhm.
And all these disruptions, and even like different, brokerage models coming in. I don't think that the value of a realtor and us as an advisor in still the one of the largest transactions in a consumer's life, we're still going to be there. Job security is going to be there, so that stuff doesn't really bother me. I'd say really what I think about, and it doesn't bother me. It just, for me, it's just how are we going to adapt eventually. I don't necessarily think we as realtors will be charging what we charge today 5 years from now. I do think that whether it's tech or other efficiencies or just maybe different brokerage models coming in, I do think that it's going to become a little bit more competitive when it comes to that. So I think to really win in the future, it's going to be about profitability for the realtor, and also, efficiency. It's being able to do more volume in a shorter or the same period of time.
So
So
if I hear you correctly, it sounds, your concern is on downward pressure to commissions.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that that's been, that's something that really hasn't been threatened that much, in the history of our industry, and it can fluctuate, within a point amongst markets. And I think that that's something that could be something that changes for us in the future.
What are you most excited about in your business, in the industry? What have you learned, in the last year or so that you're most excited about executing and implementing on?
For us, I think what's changed in our world is that, we've gone from, the solo agent to, the popularity of creating a team. And I think what the next big evolution, where a lot of, some people have gotten, and I think more and more people are getting, is really graduating from just having a team to having a scalable business, a business within a business. And I think, for us, what we're looking at is, kind of like, Walt Disney's, org chart, right? Where, the center of Disney wasn't the theme parks, and that was just an arm of that nucleus. And so that's what really excites me. And what I think is exciting for our industry is that, we're seeing some, big business owners within our industries really looking at, the business residential transactional side, not the core nucleus of it, just another arm of something bigger. And so whether it's, I think, and this might be wild, but I think that when you do things correctly and you really become that community leader in your markets, if Nike, I'm a big sneakerhead. So if Nike is looking to drop, a new Chicago-based shoe, I think that in the future, they're going to reach out to Weinberg Choi and say, hey, how is the best way to get in front of this group of people in this, neighborhood, this market? Because, we're at the core of this and what's going on. And so really this whole idea of being a media marketing arm, I really think that's could be the future of what we should all be positioning ourselves to be and do.
That's awesome. I don't know if you're familiar with my brand ambassador program, but you should totally check this out, because like something I realized about 10 years ago is that as real estate agents and team owners, broker owners, we are ambassadors. We are brand ambassadors for a lot of local businesses.
100%.
So, and I think there's a big value add for your clients for, getting the right local business owners kind of in your circle. And so I'm a huge proponent of what you're saying. I think there's so much value contribution there, and there could be so many amazing opportunities with other local
Right.
businesses. So
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, Yelp can tell you that this sushi restaurant is 4.5 stars, but in my neighborhood, Sushi Mura, I can tell you what table to sit in, because if you sit at the wrong table, you might be behind the bathroom, and it's not going to smell really well. So being that community leader, and like I said, being that source, something we always say on our team is to really position ourselves to be the funnel of our networks and be the catch-all beyond real estate, so that we're the source and the influencer that people want to come to because they know we can help connect and help solve problems. And so I'm all about that. That is what we have to be, because the data is already out there now. And so being that ambassador to the markets you serve, and the businesses, that's the conduit and the bridge.
Tommy, this has been an awesome hour. We've gotten to spend together. You've shedded a lot of very insightful things with our community. And if you're okay with it, I'd love to post in our Facebook group some of those metrics and things about the database marketing you're doing. I'd love to upload that and let people see. I need to send you an invite so you can be in there. And so if anybody's got a referral in anywhere in the US and they got somebody moving to Chicago, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, you can reach out to me. My email, it's Tom at weinbergchoi.com, WEINBERGCHOI.com. I'm sure it's going to be in some sort of link or
I'll put that
comment section on the bottom. Yep. Or you can text me directly, on my cell, 773-851-5840, or hit me up on social media too.
What do you like more, Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram. It's short bursts of content for me.
Yeah. I think the thing Facebook has is the groups, right? Like that's kind of its competitive advantage. That's groups, which is.
And I think as a company that they're all in on, because that's what's their mission, to connect the world together, right? And the special interest groups and all that, and that's honestly what I use Facebook for. Really is for the groups now.
Any conferences you're going to anytime soon? Do you have a couple top conferences you like going to?
My favorite conference is the T3 Summit, which Swampole hosts that, and that's going to be in San Antonio in May. Outside of that, obviously, I love all the Keller Williams conferences. I love going to all the National Association of Realtor conferences.
Anything non-real estate? Any non-real estate conferences you like?
Non-real estate conferences. You know what? I don't. Maybe I need to start branching out.
Yeah.
Do you have any you recommend?
I went to the funnel hacking, the Russell Brunson funnel hacking conference. That was really good about just marketing, lead generation, conversion, just a lot of really cool tactics on helping optimize that component. I think there's Russell Brunson has something called the Epiphany Bridge.
Okay.
And as salespeople, we frequently get scripts on how to convert consumers to work with us and use our service. But there's really not a lot of scripting out there to help you inspire your team to for example, move towards some specific goal, or perhaps start implementing something specific to help you reach that goal. And so the Epiphany Bridge script, Russell Brunson got that from a Hollywood writer named Michael Hodge. And Michael Hodge is contracted out by all these Hollywood filmmakers to audit their script to see if people emotionally buy into the story. And so I think a lot of times as a leader, you're trying to get your team moved to take action, right? To take action towards some specific thing. I don't know if you've read that book, 4 Disciplines of Execution. Have you picked that book up?
I have, yeah.
So, it talks in the book about, the wildly important goal, right? And something that's actually not one of the 4 disciplines of execution but they talk about in the book, is that this will not be successful if you don't get your team to come up with the idea of buying into the wildly important goal. Yep. And so the Epiphany Bridge script, which you guys can just look up on Google, is a great framework and script to help you get your team bought into the wildly important goal.
Love that.
So, well, Tommy, thanks so much for being on. I'm going to add you on the Facebook group. I'm going to put your information below. If anybody's looking for a great team to work with in Chicago, I know they'll reach out to you.
Awesome.
We'll put y'all's website in there too. So thanks for being on the show, Tommy. And I'll probably see you in San Antonio. That's just a couple hours south of me. So I'll probably see you in May at the T3.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Thank you for having me. I'm really grateful for you.
Yeah, I'm grateful for your time. And yeah, reach out to me when you get down here. I live like an hour and a half from where the summit will be. So
I'll hit you up.
Cool. Sounds good, man.
All right, man. Take care.
Bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to CEO Secrets today. Don't forget, we've got a private group called the Chris Waters Rainmaker Alliance. If you guys want to check that out, you guys can watch the show live and ask questions in the comment section. I didn't do a very good job answering questions, but I'll get to those after the show is over. But yeah, be sure to check us out on YouTube and iTunes as well. All right, bye, everybody.